Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom, and this is Shot Science Overtime number 135. We're going to do what we do most every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and that is we're going to have a topic that we talk about with you guys that we think is going to help you become a better basketball player, help you develop your game, and is going to really kind of help you, hopefully take you to the next level and, maybe make things a little easier on yourself. So we have this topic up front, and while we're doing that, we want you guys to start sending us your questions so that when we get into the Q&A portion, we can have some stuff that we can jump into and actually try to help you guys with those specific questions that you might have. And typically we get a lot of questions by the end, and so if you want your question answered, you got to get it in real early because we typically get to most of the early ones. So make sure you're following us on all of our social network stuff: Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is, YouTube itself. We are Shot Science on everything, and we would love to come and have you guys talk with us on those things too. Okay, so our topic for today is shooting through a slump. And, we get questions all the time from kids that they have one bad game, or they have maybe a few bad games where their shooting is kind of fallen off, and they can't figure out why or what they should do, and they get really down on themselves. So what are your thoughts about slumps, and then maybe how to get through all that kind of stuff?
Well, the thing that is just very common is that you do have those slumps that you kind of slide into, and they happen for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's probably something in your stroke that has changed a little bit, and that's causing you to be less effective. Just working a few minutes ago with a young man, and he's really a good shooter, but he'd been struggling the whole day today, and really what it came down to was he's pronating his wrist on the finish, and the elbow was going out. And as soon as he corrected that, then the shot started to go. So there's usually a slump as the result of some little change in the way you shoot the basketball. And here's something that happens kind of typically too, is that once the season gets underway, where you're playing on a school team, is that there's not as much shooting that takes place at practice typically. Most of the time is spent on other things. Maybe there's usually 5 or 10 minutes of shooting, and I think there ought to be an awful lot more of it myself, because that's such a key part of the game. And so what happens is that we get a little weak with our not only our shooting but our ball skills as well. And so when this is happening to you, one of the things that really is important is maybe get somebody to video what you're doing from both the side and from the rear. And when you can see from the side and from the rear, oftentimes you can pick up some little glitch in that stroke that's causing you to not be effective.
Well, we talk about it all the time, and we tell people that you have to be your own best coach.
Yep,
because you are with yourself 24 hours a day.
Yep.
You might be with your shooting coach or whoever, an hour, a few hours every once in a while, if you're lucky, every day.
Yeah.
But if you are able to go in there and tinker with your shot and make it kind of a refined exercise, then you will be in much better shape. It's those guys that go out there, guys and girls that go out there and they just shoot like a robot, and then they wonder why things aren't happening, or they even maybe can recognize, oh, well, the ball keeps going off the back rim, or the ball keeps going off the front rim, but they don't ask themselves why. Why is that happening? And you really, if you can go in there and you can pick that stuff apart, you can make a slight adjustment yourself, and you can change everything.
Yeah, and one of the things that we take as an approach to teaching people how to shoot the basketball is that we want you to know how to shoot the basketball and why, so that when you have those little glitches, you can figure it out. What happens is that I had a young girl yesterday, and she was a first-time student, and we started out, and she had the flattest shot. It was awful. The delivery was not good. And by the time we finished, all of that had kind of started to come together for her, and she had this huge grin on her face. Well, what our approach is that, okay, we're going to teach you how to shoot and why we give you these particular elements as important ones, so that you can kind of get in there and figure it out for yourself. The idea of having a video of yourself shooting too is also, that reveals an awful lot to you as a player about what you're doing or not doing. And so that's really important for you to do it. Probably the real key though is that when you get into a slump, try to identify what you think the problem is, and just continue to shoot, continue to shoot. Maybe make a little bit of a change. Usually it's not something huge. And so, but if you're one of our students, you understand what it is that you want to get done, because that's how we approach it all. We want you to know how to coach yourself. And as you go through it, we ask a ton of questions. What about this? Why does that happen? How come whenever you snap your wrist, we get more rotation? What's the effect? So we want you to understand all of that kind of thing when you're shooting. And then when it does start to go south on you and you're not able to shoot the ball as effectively, you can kind of step back, evaluate, look at the video. Oh, I think I see what's going on there. And then you can kind of fix it for yourself. And that's important that you be able to do that.
Yeah, and some of the other things too that you have to keep in mind is that you don't want to get down on yourself, because if you are sitting there being critical and telling yourself how bad you are, and you're worried about all the stuff that has already happened,
I'll never play again.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way to really kind of ruin any kind of positive movement that you might have in changing your shot and making things kind of get back on course.
Yeah.
So if you're able to just step back, take a breath, and then worry more about the present and what's going on right now than worrying about what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future, because you don't have any control over any of that stuff.
No, and probably the biggest problem that young people have, particularly with shooting, is they get frustrated because the ball is not doing what they want it to do. And so as you shoot, and we have this little discussion with most everybody, it looks like you're really getting frustrated with what you're doing today. Is that right? Oh, yeah, I am. And you can tell by their body language, you can tell by the expression in their face. And then we take time out, and the timeout is this. Look, you can get frustrated, and it's only going to lead to more frustration. And pretty soon you're so frustrated you want to kick a hole in our fence.
Yeah.
And what happens then is that learning stops as soon as you get to that frustration level. It stops. And after that, you're just chucking the ball up there. You're not going to get any progress out of it. So as soon as you stop, take a deep breath and forget about whether you're making the shot or not. You then begin to get yourself involved with what's going on in the shot, and you're probably going to be able to fix it. We find that that's the approach that works really well. Take time out, maybe kid with them a little bit, and now, okay, let's relax and quit worrying so much about whether the ball went in or it didn't go in.
Yeah.
Let's worry about getting the mechanics, and it will start to go in.
And all the great shooters, they were never those type of people that would start pouting and getting down on themselves, because that is not constructive. That is completely destructive.
Yeah, it is.
And if you are able to see what you're doing and analyze, okay, this is not happening for me. This is really not working. I need to figure out what the issue is. Look at the results, what you're getting, kind of back analyze. Okay, well, that's because I'm pulling my arm down and my shot is flat. Okay, I'm going to change that and adjust that. Those great players and great shooters, they are always going through and they are doing those kind of things. Yeah. Those little micro adjustments, micro analysis on all the stuff that they're doing. And the reason that they're great is because they don't get into their little pity parties where they're worried about themselves and, oh, woe is me, and all, that stuff is so lame. And if you get caught up in that, you will never be able to get out of the slump, because it's just self-defeating and self-repeating. If you're able to look at that and be like, okay, now I'm going to change. I'm going to look at what I'm doing and I'm going to fix it. Then you will get out of that stuff.
Yeah. It's usually younger players who kind of fall into that frustration thing. And usually after we have that little discussion and they can see now, okay, it's starting to change now. I'm feeling a lot better about the shot because I'm now relaxed. Then you can see that there's progress being made.
And here's the other thing too, is that a lot of people feel like they are getting into these slumps and that their shooting is just it's a lost cause or whatever. But you have to realize too that your shooting average is going to go up and down all the time.
Yeah.
And over the course of time, if you you look at everything, it evens itself out. So you might have a day where you are shooting just lights out, and then the next day you are shooting garbage for the whole time. Then the next day you're shooting kind of okay, and then the next day it's up high again. You can't really worry on those little tiny time capsules of how your shooting is doing.
Right.
It's good to look at that stuff and say, oh, well, there was an issue there, let's fix it or whatever. But if you're getting down on yourself because you have one bad game or you have one stretch where you're not getting anything to fall, that's silly. Look at somebody like Stephen Curry. He's going to have games where he's real up high, and games where he's having a hard time hitting much of anything. And it may be more than even we are, most normal people can hit, but it's not his level of being able to drop that stuff.
Yeah.
But, he will always even out. He'll always kind of get back to where his average is. And that's the same thing with everybody else. The only way that you get out of kind of that flow or that scheme is when you get down on yourself. And when you get down on yourself, that's when you will see things just kind of start to tail off.
Yeah.
And because you don't get better, you don't fix anything. You're just making yourself worse.
Yeah, and usually that frustration level grows and grows and grows. And so that's important that you not get into that mindset.
So let's wrap it up.
All
Shooting through a slump is one of those things where it's really on your shoulders to make sure you do a few things. Yeah. One being...
analyze the shot.
Yeah, analyze your shot. Make sure that you are kind of looking at the results that you're getting from your shooting.
Sure.
If the ball is or if the ball is coming off the front rim and it's coming off at a real sharp angle, you're probably pulling your arm down. It's probably a real flat shot.
Flat shot, yeah.
So you need to change that.
Yeah.
So you need to be your own best coach. Then you also need to not get down on yourself, because if you're getting down on yourself, then it does become a self-defeating, self-repeating cycle, and you will never get out of it.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you are living in the present. You're not worried about the past. You're not worried about the future. You're working on right now.
Yeah.
And also, when it comes to a shooting slump, you have to realize that you need to look at things over a longer period of time to really look at how your shooting is doing.
Yeah.
If you're looking at just a single quarter or a single game or maybe 2 games, that's not really enough time or enough data to really know what's going on. Over time, you're going to have games where you're up and where you're down and where you're in the middle and everywhere in between. So you need to just worry about your average it's going to even itself out over time. And, if you're working on those other 2 things that we talked about, you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, one of the things, too, you kind of have to keep in mind is that just the natural flow of shooters, sometimes we're going to take and have days like Casey's talking about where we don't shoot the ball well. His brother was really a pretty good shooter in both high school and college. And yet I can remember there were games where he was he'd go 7 for 10 from the 3 line in a game, and then the next game he'd go 1 for 10. But the thing that's really was good about him is he never let that bother him, because he knew that maybe I'm going to go 0 for 10 here. And I love to tell this story because I think it was really unique. In one of his games, he went 0 for 7 in the first half from the 3 line. In the second half, he came back out and started shooting it real well. And he ended up shooting 10 for 17 for the 3 ball for the entire game. And so just... He didn't worry about it too much. He kind of thought about maybe what he needed to do, and was able to kind of pick himself up and go. And that's what shooters do.
Yeah. Well,
they don't fall back and feel sorry for themselves and drop their head and all that. They just keep shooting.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that you just made come into my mind right there, was that you have to have confidence too.
Yeah.
You have to know that the ball is going down, even if it doesn't end up going in. Yeah. Why are you shooting it if you don't think it's going to be in? That just doesn't make sense. You need to be shooting it and knowing it's in every single time. And so that's kind of...
believing that, too. Yeah. And believing it, yeah.
And, even if you miss the last 20 shots, that shot that you just took, it's going in.
Yeah.
And that kind of confidence is really what carries over the great shooters.
It really does, yeah.
All right, so are we done with that one?
I think that's good, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to stop on that topic there, you guys. Hopefully that helps you out and makes you maybe step things up in your game and helps you get through a slump. And if you want more answers on that stuff, just let us know in the comments and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. Right now, we're going to jump into just answering as many questions as we can of you guys. Remember that you need to follow us on all of our social media stuff, because we can't get to everybody here right now. So follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. We are Shot Science on all those things. And we're going to jump right into your comments and questions. Please send them to us in the comments on the chat, and make sure you tell your friends and family. Okay, Kirby Frank is saying, "What's up, Casey? Hey, what about Coach Tom?" Okay, let's see. Mameless Fall is saying, "Hey, what's up?" Let's see here. Stilo17 is saying, "Whenever I go to dunk, the ball always slips out of my hand. Are there any hand exercises I can do to keep control of the ball?" Well, You know, I mean, people put so much of an emphasis on palming the basketball and doing all these things that are really not essential to the game. You know, and we've talked about this before. I've got pretty big hands. I have for a long time. I know you probably would say the same thing. You know, I've never in any kind of aspect of the game had to palm the basketball to do anything.
Yeah.
It's if you're trying to palm a basketball, you kind of are putting the tension on your muscles, and it's not something that is really comfortable to do. And so if you're trying to shoot, it's going to add tension. If you're trying to dribble, it's going to make you not really have the control you want to have. So I think you need to kind of not think about having that kind of a grip on the basketball.
Right.
And if you're going up, you know, if you go up for a layup or a lay-in, we have kids that are just, you know, tiny 7-8-year-olds that go up and they're able to do like a lay-in.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes
One-handed lay-in.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just about how you go up with the ball. They're not able to palm it at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that there's too much of an emphasis on trying to do that, and especially if you're trying to dunk. Dunking is one of those things you should only do if you can pull it off.
Yeah,
and
truly,
you need to be able to get high enough to do it.
Every player loves to do it because it's one of the things that you probably would want to do is just spread your thumb out so that you get a little bit more surface area on the ball. But you shouldn't be trying to dunk the ball if you can't dunk it and dunk it effectively. Otherwise, it's going to be a turnover.
I mean, there's a ton of things that people always tell you. Oh, you can do like the hand squeezes and you can get a tennis ball and do those kind of things. I don't think those really help very much at all. You know, it's kind of a waste of time, I feel. Work on your other aspects of your game, like shooting and ball handling and defense and conditioning and athleticism. All those will take you much further than being able to palm or dunk the ball.
Yeah.
And that might not be what you want to hear, but I mean, that's kind of like our honest opinion on that stuff. Basil Messi says, what are the best moves to use on a fast break? Please give me some coach like the Euro step, pro hop, etc.
Now, you know, what's interesting is that there are so many circumstances that arise during a fast break. That,
there is no best.
Yeah, there is not a best.
You have to have kind of more like a utility belt of options.
Yeah, and if you have 2 or 3 things that you can do, typically that's going to take and suffice. As far as the Euro step, you know, I'm not real crazy about the Euro step. In fact, I was listening to an official the other day talking about the fact that there probably going to be some considerations for changing that because they consider it's a travel a lot of times, and they're going to be probably looking at that a little closer. But I think the
funny thing about the Euro step is that when I was playing in high school and back in that time period, that was not even a thing.
No.
Because if you did that, you would be called traveling. And it kind of came from like international basketball.
It came from Europe.
Yeah. And, you know, we had never seen stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we all thought it was traveling. And then all of a sudden it showed up in the NBA and then it showed up in the NCAA. And it was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But that used to not be a thing, even just like 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I would recommend, I think, is that you go to our YouTube channel and take a look at finishes at the rim. Mm-hmm. And that particular video gives you a number of ways to finish around the basket when you're being contested by bigs. And so I think that would probably be the best thing. And then you can kind of pick and choose the things that you like. And other than that, I don't think there is 1 or 2 moves that are going to suffice in all situations.
One of the things that you want to avoid is being too cute with whatever you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
So the best option is always probably going to be just going up and finishing strong, protecting the basketball with your body and just going up. And if there's contact, that's great for you. It's not good for the defender. Focus on the finish.
Yeah.
And then the option off of that is if you see that person's coming in and they're coming at you like crazy and you know they're going to go for it, jump stop. And if sometimes they'll just fly by with that, but you can also give them a shot fake and they'll go up in the air. Then you can kind of have an easier shot, or they're up in the air and get into
them for a foul too.
Yeah. Or you can give them a shot fake and a reverse. I mean, all of those things are in our finishes at the rim video.
Yeah.
And so if you go to that, and you think about, okay, well, if I execute this off of a fast break, that it works just the same way.
Exactly right.
But
Exactly
the
right.
thing that is the worst thing you can do is when you get too cute and you try to do double clutch layups, or you try to do flip shots, or whatever it is.
Or you're trying to change your shot because somebody's on you close and you reach way out here, and
Yeah.
those are hope shots.
Those are weak garbage. is
Yeah,
what they are.
they're probably not going to go. We're hoping they will, but they're probably not going to go.
And you just bailed out the defender.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. So go check out the finishes at the rim video. That's going to help you a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one is from Jeremy Hayden, who says, "How high should you jump when you shoot the basketball?"
That's a great question.
We have a video on that,
Yeah,
too.
we do, and one that we talk about quite a bit. Someone contacted me the other day on the internet, and they said, "How high should I jump on my jump shot?" And I usually say, "Okay, you want to jump to a height that is comfortable for you for that shot." In other words, maybe you can jump 30 inches, but that doesn't feel good because it tenses your body up as you get to the top of it. That's the biggest problem, is that when we jump and we try to get extra height, you can only jump as high as you can jump. And trying to jump higher is not necessarily going to do that for you, but it is going to take you, and your body is going to tense up. And when the body tenses up, the shot degrades big time. And so what you want to do is be more concerned with a jump that is going to be comfortable for you, where you can comfortably deliver the basketball. You take a look at Steph Curry. Steph Curry is not leaping 30 inches on a jump shot like
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen. Ray Allen's got such great vertical.
But both of those guys are shooting at what is comfortable for them. And they are not trying to set any records on their vertical when they're shooting their shot.
Exactly.
And they're also not trying to out jump the defender.
Yeah.
One of the things that you need to think about is that if you were trying to jump higher on your jump shot simply so that you can get it over the defense, you probably are not taking good shots. And you need to learn to create space. That will be much more helpful than being able to out jump anybody.
Yeah.
And you look at, there's tons of players that you can name off, and Stephen Curry is one. Larry Bird. I mean, these are
not
people
great
that
jumpers.
No, they're not. I mean, Larry Bird was barely getting off the floor. But the thing is that they were creating incredible space, and the defender was nowhere near them.
Yeah.
And so that's really where they were making up for not jumping high on their jump shot. But like you were saying, if you try to force it, it's going to translate into
Tension.
less accuracy on your shot.
Yeah, you're going to be really tense, and the shot is going to look like a brick.
Okay, this one is from Maulik Suryavanshi, who says, "Can you explain how to synchronize your hands and legs to get perfect through the legs crossover?"
Well, that's just a matter of practice.
Slow it way down.
Yeah, and walking speed. We usually start our players off at, first of all, a stationary speed where they're putting the ball through the legs, and then they'll switch and go the other way, and then we'll walk with it and try to get that synchronized a little bit. And as we do that, then we begin to speed it up a little bit, and you learn and adjust by doing that. If you just go out and try to go at full speed, you're going to have trouble with that. You're going to have trouble with any of those counter dribbles if you try to just go out and do it. You want to take your time, start slow, and as you get better at it, then you're going to start to speed up.
Yeah, like you said, slow it way down.
Yeah.
People try to rush into all this stuff, but if you par it way down and you go at it and you really take the footwork really slowly, the footwork is the most important part. So if you slow it down and use your footwork and kind of go through at a very slow speed, you start to put it together, then you amp it up as you go. Yeah,
there's another element that really kind of affects all of the counter dribbles. The counter dribbles, as far as we're concerned, are these. The crossover, the scissor dribble between the legs, the flat back dribble behind the back, and
I don't remember, spin dribble?
Spin dribble. Okay, and all of those have these elements that are the same. Do not allow the ball to elevate like Iverson when you're going to cross over. And he let it elevate so that it was up here kind of high. And the reason that we don't teach that is that, number one, it is exposed to the defense stepping in and tipping it away because it's so high. And the other is the fact that the dribble tends to have this kind of a V pattern. And we talk to our players about the fact that when you dribble a basketball from side to side, it has a V path. And what happens is that we don't want a tall V path when you're taking and changing sides with the basketball. We want a flatter V path. And so if you get the ball down around your knee height,
It's going to be shorter,
it's
quicker,
shorter,
more
quicker, and
explosive.
less exposed.
Yep. And, Iverson had his own thing going on,
Yeah.
and it worked for him.
Yep.
But we think if you're starting out, you need to have the fundamentals down, and you need to really kind of get those dialed in before you do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you try to do kind of the fancy things, that's going to get you in trouble if you go directly into that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here we go. This one is from Mimoun Boulfath, who says, "Hello, I'm a basketballer from Morocco. I'm 18 years old."
Cool.
Awesome. Nice to have you here.
Cool.
Let's see. Trey Johnson says, "Whenever I have a basketball game, 3 other teams like to trap and double team. What can I do?"
Okay. The learning process on this is to get your head up so you can see what's happening. And if you can see up the floor, and you don't have to have a hard vision to do that. Hard vision means that you're looking specifically at a thing. You want a soft vision of the whole floor on that end. Where are my teammates? Where is the opponent's teammates? Oh, here comes a double team, and how am I going to react to that? Well, what we like to do is that we tell all of our players, keep the ball in the middle third of the floor. They want to push you to the sideline so that the sideline becomes another defender. If they can get you into the forecourt in that upper corner by the sideline and the midline, then they've got a 4-person trap on you there. So you stay out of that area. Now, what happens if you get into that? Well, they're not going to let you get the ball out. We teach our guys, reach down and just bounce the ball off their leg and out of bounds. Then we get a chance to start over again.
Well, here's the thing,
But
too.
let me go on with what I was going to say. Keep the ball in the middle third of the floor. And as you see the trap coming to you, they're starting to close in, then take and use what we call a retreat dribble. If you go to our videos, you'll find out what a retreat dribble is. And we're going to keep our dribble alive, and we're going to take 2 retreat steps and dribbles and turn our shoulder to them so we have an arm bar out here to protect against them coming. Then we're going to attack the person who is to the widest part of the floor. So if I'm going down the floor and I'm kind of over to one side of the middle of the floor and I see that trap coming, I'm going to attack the guy that is to the wide side of the floor, and I'm just going to go get him. And what's going to happen usually is they're going to be contact, or you're going to go right by him. As soon as that happens, the second guy on that trap, he's out of the whole picture because he's playing from behind. So what we do is just attack the dribbler or the defender to the middle of the floor. And when I say attack him, that doesn't mean you take a dribble or two and then pick it up. You attack him off the floor and get deep down the floor so that all breaks down. Usually when your initial trap breaks down, then the whole thing just kind of, it's off.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is exactly that, just in the more kind of pared down version,
Okay.
where it's you attack one of those guys off the dribble. You don't sit there and wait for both of them to come at you. You don't try to attack the gap between them. Yeah. You attack one of those guys. You choose one and you go for them.
Yeah, and you just go after them. And that means that you're going to go hip to hip with them.
Because if you sit there and wait, they're going to trap you. And you're going to panic.
And pick up the ball.
And if you try to attack the middle of those guys in the gap, they're just going to close that gap on you before you even get there. Yeah. And if you single one of those guys out, you are going to essentially be taking control of the situation, whereas they were trying to take control. So if you were the one in control, you can attack that guy, neutralize what they were trying to doing, and then the other guy is just trying to play catch up the whole time.
Sure.
So you need to really, we talk about it on offense and on defense.
Yeah.
You have to take control of the situations.
Yeah.
Waiting to react to whoever you're going up against, that is the best way to just completely have everything go to garbage.
Right. Okay, let's step at and look at it from another point of view. If people are double teaming you, that usually means that they are playing a zone defense. They're trying to use a zone trap defense. How you beat the zone trap defense is move the basketball. And one of the things that we do is we'll move the ball from side to side and make the trap, pretty soon they get behind everything. We move it side to side, and we take our time.
That's because you're forcing them to react to you.
Yes.
You're not reacting to them.
Exactly. And what happens is that they may run to trap you on one side and you reverse, and we always keep somebody behind the basketball in the middle so that we can reverse and kick the ball back to them, and then the ball will go to the other side. So we're forcing those people to do a lot of running. And one of the things that we also think about is this, is that we don't fear or get worked up because we get a 10-second violation. One of the things that we tell our guys is take your time, make good passes, and when they have the opening, then let's go ahead and get across that midline and get across the midline at least 10 feet. What happens is after we've swung the ball from one side or to the other, usually we can do that, or we can pass the ball to the middle. You beat those zone presses by passing the basketball. They beat you when you start using the dribble to try and beat them.
Yeah, because as soon as you put them on catch-up mode, they're never really going to be able to dictate what you're doing.
Yeah, and going back and touching on that one thing that I was just talking about, not worrying about the 10-second violation. The reason that we kind of take that approach is this, is that maybe we'll have 2 or maybe even 3 in a ball game where we'll have the ball and we get called for 10 seconds. Rather than get panicky and throw panic passes because that little clock is ticking in our head and that's all we can think about, and we make long long passes that are easy to intercept, and they get a fast break, come down and score on us. And so we'll take our time, and if we have to take that 10-second violation, we'll take it, because now the ball goes to the sideline, all of our defenders come back, and now we get a chance to play defense rather than just letting it be just a running back and forth. Then take the ball, score. Take the ball, score. We're not going to allow them to do that.
All right. Are we done with that one?
We beat that one up pretty good, Casey.
Okay. And, with anything, there's going to be different situations that call for different kind of reactions and things that you need to be doing. So, those are very general things of what you should be doing.
All right. General comment, and then I'll let this go. Man-to-man pressure, that's different. Typically what you want to do there when you're getting man-to-man pressure is that you clear out and you have one person bring the ball up the floor. Oftentimes they'll have one of the players who will kind of slide back, trying to play a cat and mouse game, and when you get a little closer, they'll rush you. And the thing there is just pass the basketball. Pass the basketball. When they're going to take and trap you with the 2 people, pass the basketball.
All right.
Keep it moving.
Moving on.
All right.
Please, if you guys are watching this right now, go tell your friends and family to watch. We would love to get more people here, ask more questions, and just have a good Sunday live show. That would be awesome. But our next question here is from Harry Sherwood, who says, what are the benefits to being on your toes when you shoot? That's easy. It's because you are athletically primed when you're on your toes.
Yeah.
If you are flat-footed and you're trying to go up into your shot, which typically requires you to go into extension and jump, you would have to be on your toes anyways. So it's not very athletic for you to be flat-footed anytime when you're on the basketball court, because you're going to have to dorsiflex your foot to go up on your toes to do anything anyway.
Yeah.
So you lose a second. You're going to lose your rhythm. You're not going to be able to really kind of get the connectivity between your all the different parts of your shooting mechanics. Right. Being on your toes is just in anything athletic. You're going to be on your toes.
Let me back up and say this: is that rather than toes,
the balls of your feet.
The balls of the feet are really where you want to have that weight distributed to, is the balls of the feet, not necessarily the toes.
Yeah, and that's kind of like your forefoot. So like the front pad and your toes.
Yeah.
If you're running, that's typically kind of the part that you're pressing into the ground and running off of. Okay. Jeremy Hayden says, when you hold the ball, should your fingers be spread out or keep them close together?
Spread them. Spread them out.
If you keep them close together like this, you have no control really over where the ball is or how it releases off your hand. Ow.
It can be popped out really easy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's talking about shooting. So, here's the thing. If you're shooting, you can get control of the ball if you spread your fingers out like this. We typically say spread it out so that your thumb and pinky are kind of opposing, and you're going to have this little gap underneath. We call it the 1-finger test. You should be able to slip your finger in there, but the ball is up on your finger pads. It's not on your fingertips. It's not on your palm, because you have no control when that happens. You have your fingers spread and you have it on your finger pads. You've got all the control you want, right?
Yep.
So yes, spread them. Let's see. Cluxy says, I usually train alone, so what drills can I do as a center to improve my low post moves? Also, what muscles do I have to work on to become a dominant to be dominant over the defense and get more rebounds? I'm 6', 174. Okay. Let's talk about the first part of the question first. I usually train alone, so what are drills I can do as a center to improve my low post moves? Well, there's several things that we would tell you to do, and we have videos on all this stuff. Yeah. The first is just drilling all these different post moves into your practice. So, you know, we have those set up on our YouTube where we talk about the, you know, just the drop step. We talk about the jump hook, the up and under, the spin. You know, we think that it's good to have at least 2 to 3 of those really down, and also have a counter move off of those. So an example of that would be the jump hook to middle, where, you know, you go and you catch the ball and you do your post move. It's a jump hook in the middle. If they start to catch on to that, you have something like the up and under that you can go to that looks like the jump hook, but then you change direction when they try to cut that off.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of the counter move. So we think that working on that, drilling that is great. And if you're alone, you can do that. But you obviously need to have some game speed, game intensity, game realistic practice as well, where you bring somebody in, whether it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, whoever it is, to step in and so you can get that feel of what that's like. The other thing is that learn to get some separation when the ball is passed into you. So when you get the ball passed into you at the post, you don't just stand there and catch it. You actually do a release step and you go out and you catch it, and then you can do your move off of that.
Right.
And that's really important to shorten the pass and also give you some space that you can use against the defense.
Yeah, and most everybody that we work with on post move starts out and they're just them. We'll step in once in a while, just play dummy defense, but for the most part, we're just teaching them the footwork and the stroke mechanics of how to execute. And that's where everybody should start, in our opinion.
But just start off slow.
Yeah.
Go look at those videos and see what our teaching points are on that stuff. Make sure that you are replicating those at a very slow speed, and then start to ramp it up as you get better and master that stuff.
Right. Well, the second part of that question is muscles that you work on. You know,
well, we have strong opinions on that stuff.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, is that young people spend way too much time worrying about going to the gym and bulking up and being like these big giant people, when in actual fact, what will carry you further at those levels of basketball are your skills.
Yeah.
You know, it's something where if you spent the time that you are thinking about spending in the gym, lifting these weights and doing these kind of power movements and things, if you spent that time on developing your skills, that will pay off way more than any amount of squats you do or bench press you do. That stuff only really comes into play once you start getting into the kind of higher up levels of basketball.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, typically that's going to be your highly competitive college levels of basketball, and obviously the pro levels of basketball. Right. And that's typically because those guys have their skills are already at a very high level. Their bodies are gigantic and mature.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not something that when you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old that you should even really be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Things that you can work on that are not necessarily skill basketball development are developing your athleticism and developing your conditioning. Right. And you can do that through, you know, high intensity interval training. You can do that through dot drills and jump rope and all these things that are not necessarily resistance training things. And those are great because they will help you with your endurance. They will help you with your quickness and your speed and your athleticism all around. When you get tied up into heavy weightlifting and any of that stuff, it does not pay off when you're a young person. Yeah. And you can see that every once in a while when there's a kid that spent all summer bulking up in the gym, and then he comes in and he's just garbage now.
Yeah,
because he didn't spend any time on his shot. He didn't spend any time on his ball handling. So we don't like to tell people to spend much time on that stuff. And that's just our opinion, but hopefully that all makes sense. Yeah. And people put so much emphasis on the fact that they think that they're going to be able to add this muscle or strength to the point where it's going to take them to the next level or it's going to give them some huge advantage. It doesn't. Skills are what neutralize the opposition.
Well, that and maturity. You know, one of the things that happens to everyone from when they're young and then they go through high school and then on beyond high school is that your body goes through a physical maturation where it begins to change. And
if you're
your
6 foot,
bulk, your muscle bulk begins to get bigger. Your overall weight gets bigger, and you get stronger if you're involved in games.
And if you're 6 foot 174, that's a pretty solid dude.
Yeah, it is.
You know, that's not too bad. So I would not worry about trying to bulk up and do all those things. And, you know, you're talking about being dominant over defense and getting more rebounds. Rebounding is so not about being the biggest, bulkiest, strongest person. It's about reading the path of the ball and anticipating where it's going to be. It's about kind of the mental tenacity to go after it. It's about blocking out the guy that you're playing defense on, or the nearest guy, or if you're on offense or whatever, and just going after it. It's not about I'm the guy that could squat 260. That just isn't the way it works out. So okay, let's move on.
All right,
we've hammered that one. Some of these names are hard to pronounce. I'm sorry, you guys, but Angie Luxama says, I have freshman tryouts tomorrow. I watched all the tryout videos, but want a little more information. Thanks. Let's see. Here's a follow-up. Do you have any suggestion as far as how to think during the game? Because I always seem to get nervous, which in turn causes my abilities to suffer. What thought process should I have going into a game and during the game? Well, that was both. Oh, that's not even from him.
It's a different guy.
But Angie Luxama, if you're trying to figure out what to do about tryouts, we have given so much information on that on our tryouts video, and also the one that we did with Casey Hill, who is the coach of the D-League Warriors. And we also did, I think, a live show not that long ago about that stuff. Check those out. But if you have questions right now, send them over. We can't give any more information than all that stuff that we've done. We've done like 4 or 5 videos on it. Okay, so this one from Alpha J. Do you have any suggestions on what to think about during the game because you get nervous and your abilities suffer? Well,
okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say is that if your skills are there and you put the work in to develop those skills, then you should not be nervous about that because you'll have confidence in your skills. But the other thing is that you need to flip a switch in your mentality and have it tell you that, or have yourself say that this doesn't matter. I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to do what I can do, and that's going to be the best I can do.
Exactly.
If you are worried about all these other things that you can't control, then that's going to really sabotage you. You just need to take a step back, take a breath, and remember that it is not going on your permanent record. You just need to go out there and play.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I think people who think too much about all this kind of stuff and get nervous, if they can just, like Casey, let go of it and let's just play. Just play and not worry about whether the coach is going to take you out, if you're going to miss a shot and everybody's going to hate you because you missed that shot. Quit worrying about that kind of stuff because everybody's going to do that. And so just go out and just relax and play as hard as you can play.
Okay, Basil Messi says, in what instance should I use the head fake? Is it an effective move? Well, that depends really on where you're talking about it. I mean,
that's true.
Obviously, it's effective pretty much anywhere that you put it.
Yeah.
In the post, it's great to use to look one way and go the other way. It's great when you're passing the ball. You don't want to look directly at the guy that you're passing the ball to. If you're going to use it on a shot, you can sometimes get guys that go up just by looking at the rim. Mm-hmm. And when you do a shot fake, the head fake is kind of a part of it. So, I mean,
I wouldn't really recommend that you just worry about just head fakes. I don't think maybe a head fake, maybe if you're going to take and try and get a guy to move a little bit so you can get a pass off. But as far as shot fakes, we want to move the basketball. And one of the things that we do on our shot fakes too is we teach everybody to start right here at chest height, which is just about chin high, and the ball comes up no higher than the hairline on our head. And the reason is this: is that we don't want to have a long recovery. If we come way up here and then we have to recover back to that set point, that takes too much time, and it really works to the defender's benefit when we do that. Short, crisp shot fakes from the chin to the hairline, and with your eyes to the rim. Eyes to the rim is huge.
Okay, Javier Cody Board says, "Happy Thanksgiving, coaches." Happy Thanksgiving.
All right.
Hopefully it was a good one. Let's see. This one is from Invasion, who says, "I'm from a small school and a 10th grader on the varsity and need to get over nerves." And then I saw somebody else down here talking about nerves as well. Like we said before, you just need to relax.
Well, yeah.
I know it's hard to do, but it really is a mental switch that you have to have. If you're constantly worried about the outcome of what you're doing, that's a great way to just kind of, put yourself in a situation where you're being overly critical and you're gonna mess up.
Yeah.
You just need to take a step back, go play your game, not try to play outside of your abilities, and hopefully you've worked on developing your skills so that you know that they are there.
You know, the absolute fact of the matter is this, is that most people start out nervous when the game begins. Most, not all. And they're really concerned about how they're going to play. Are they going to shoot the ball okay? Are they going to be able to defend okay? But once you've been up and down the floor a couple of times, usually most everybody relaxes and you get into the flow of the game. You play hard on defense, you shoot the ball the way you've been taught or the way you practice. And so usually nerves leave you after the first minute or two of the game.
Okay, let's start lightning round because we're getting way too many questions now.
All right.
So we're going to have short answers to these questions, hopefully short. This one is from Jeremy Hayden, who says, "When you shoot, do you put more power into your arms or your legs?" Short answer.
Okay, short answer is use the legs. That's where all the power is.
Yeah.
Most all the power, not all, but most of it.
And I will add that you have to think of your legs and lower body, lower chain, as being kind of your powerhouse.
Yep.
And your upper chain, or your arms and your chest and your shoulders, all of that is kind of your refined movement that's gonna kind of dial in and put the accuracy on your shot.
That's the guidance system.
If you're trying to muscle it with your upper body, that's gonna really sacrifice your accuracy.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see. This one is from Youns Chajar, who says, "What should I do to make more shots?"
Practice, practice, practice. You know, you take a look at Steph Curry, and the word is that he shoots 1,000 shots a day before practice. Now, even if it was half of that before practice, that is one of the reasons why he shoots the ball so well.
Yeah, so purposeful repetition and consistency are key to that.
And just going out and shooting around doesn't do it. You have to have a purpose, like Casey said, and usually, let's say that you're going to go out and you're going to shoot 43s, and you're going to shoot them all from the same spot. Then you're going to move and you shoot 40 more from another spot. So you dial in that.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about the 3 pillars of practice, and I will talk about it very briefly right now, but it is, the first pillar, and this is the approach that you should have to all of your practice, whether it's shooting or ball handling or whatever, but you need to make sure that you are doing all these things. The first pillar being the dialing in, kind of paring everything back, making sure that you're doing everything from the fundamental basis of what you're trying to achieve. For shooting, that would be something like the form shooting drill, which we highly recommend, and we have a video on that. Taking it to the next pillar, we have game speed, game intensity practice, where you take all of the stuff that you were working on in the first pillar, you amp it up to game speed and game intensity, and you're doing it at that higher level of intensity where you're maybe adding in defense or you're visualizing defense, but you're doing it at the speed of a game.
Right.
And that prepares you for pillar 3, which is actual game experience. And you apply all the things that you did in the first 2 pillars to actually playing in a game, whether it's pickup basketball, school basketball, traveling team, whatever it is. You get as much experience using that stuff as you can in real life settings.
Absolutely.
And if you do that and you have a good balance of all that stuff, you will be in good shape. Yeah. If you just go out there and casually shoot around, then when you get into an actual game, it's not going to be there for you.
Exactly right.
JJ Edwards says, "How can I improve my free throws?"
Now, this whole thing is about practice too. A couple of things that I notice is that you want to take and have some kind of a breathing pattern. And the reason for that is that usually we shoot those free throws when we've been up and down the floor and we're a little bit tired. Step up to the free throw line, go through your routine. Everybody's got a routine. They drop the ball on the floor, they wrap it behind their back, they toss it up in the air. Go through that routine and then take hold of the basketball and take one really deep breath and blow it all the way out and take a short breath. So it'd be, and that's a short one, and let's go. Well, the other thing is practice, practice, practice is so important on free throws.
I was just going to say, have a simple routine that is very easily repeatable. Step away from the line between free throws so you don't ice yourself. The other thing is that when it comes to practice of your free throws, a lot of people, they just walk into the gym and they shoot free throws to get warmed up or just to start their practice off. And that's great, but you need to do it all throughout the different levels of fatigue that you face in practice or whatever, because when you step into a game and you're in the fourth quarter and you're tired and you know, things just aren't working like they should, and you step to the free throw line and all the time that you practice, you do it when you're fresh getting to the gym, it's not going to be there. So you need to put yourself into the experience before you get into the actual game. So work on your free throws throughout. You know, if you do crazy suicides and then you're totally gassed and you think it's time to pack it in, that's a great time to get 10 free throws in.
Yeah, it is really good.
So just kind of think like that. Let's see. Alvaro Suarez says, what do coaches look for in players?
Well,
go look at our Make the Team video.
Yeah, that's pretty much true for even after you've made the team. It gives you a pretty good idea of what coaches want to see.
Yeah, it's typically going to be things like effort,
huge,
initiative, leadership, hustle. There's a whole list of things, and we talk about that and examples of that in that video. But those are the skills is one thing, but you have immediate control over all these other things that we talk about. So that's one of those that, you know, skills take time to really build up. Those are things that you can almost just turn on immediately.
Right. And
they kind of mean more to coaches than you would think that, you know, they would. Let's see. JJ4 Lowell says, how can I become a point guard? Okay. People, we talk about this frequently, but people always are worried about what position they should play or labeling themselves as this position or that position. We think that is the worst approach you can possibly have as a young person trying to become a basketball player.
Yep.
And the reason is because you don't get to decide that when you get into an actual game setting. That is 100% the coach's decision.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so to have that approach of where, okay, I'm going to be a point guard, you pigeonhole yourself. And so what if you show up on a team and there's 3 guys that are the point guards before you are, and you don't have any other skills to back that up? So we think that you need to work on just being a all-around great basketball player that can do everything.
Right.
There is no specific position that you approach your practice with, but you just go in there and you become a great all-around basketball player. You know how to post up. You know how to bring the ball up the floor. You know how to play the perimeter. You know how to play defense inside and out. You know how to rebound. You know how to shoot free throws. That way, you can step in at the 1. You can step in at the 2. You can step in at the 3, the 4, the 5. Whatever it is, you will play.
Well, yeah, and once you kind of are maybe in that situation where that's your position you're going to play, then you can start learning some of the subtleties of how to be a point guard.
Yeah, and the thing is that you, what was I just going to say? I think that if you have all those skills too, it makes you better at whatever position you end up at.
Yeah.
If your coach decides, okay, I want you to be a point guard, and you can go in there, you can do all the things a point guard needs to do, but you can also go into the post, and you can take those guys that are guarding you into the post, or you can rebound, or you can do these other things. You are a much more valuable player than the guy that just runs the offense and passes the ball. I mean, that guy, whatever. If you look at somebody like Steph Curry or any of these guys that are just like the Swiss Army knives of basketball players, you know, Steph Curry could play the 1, he could play the 2, he might even be able to play the 3.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing about it is that you know, people, or like Kevin Durant or Anthony Davis, those guys are nearly 7 feet tall and they can play inside and out.
Sure.
So be the all-around basketball player. Okay. Let's take a few more questions here. Let's see. This one is from Wu Lopez, who says, "How can I get to the rim at will?"
You know, that is so broad you can't believe it. One of the things you need to do is to learn how to attack people off the dribble and how to counter them off the dribble and how to leverage them once you get in the area of the basket. For us to explain that to you right here, it would take us maybe 2 hours.
I would say that is very broad, but learn how to create space,
Yep.
and you're going to do that through dribble attacks and these offensive moves that we have on our channel. And if
Yep.
you want to go watch those videos, there is a huge long list of things that you can kind of put into your tool belt.
Okay, Harry Sherwood's got a question there.
Which one? He's got two here. Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Harry Sherwood says, if your guide hand flares out and chicken wings, is it a bad thing? If so, do you have any tips to change it?
Well, you know, a short little thought on this. The hand doesn't need to come away from the ball way out to the side, okay? What we need to do is we shoot the basketball and we get to the top of it. This hand can just separate from the ball, and we call that the assist hand. The other hand, you know, most everybody calls it the guide hand. But what happens if this hand stays on the ball, the one over here on this side, what happens is that this thumb tends to get involved in the shot. And when it does, that throws the shot off. And so we like to have separation of that hand as we get ready to shoot. If you watch the really good shooters, right at the end, the hand separates and they go ahead and stroke.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it can screw it up. And we never refer to that hand as the hand.
Yeah, I mean, it is silly that anybody would call it the guide hand simply because your shooting hand is really the one that's guiding it to the rim.
Absolutely right.
Your assist hand, it should start to fall off as soon as you start to elevate the ball.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be different for every person, but you know, as soon as you start to go up, that hand should really just fall away, and you should follow it up with your shooting.
Yeah,
hand.
you don't need that hand once you've got the ball ready to go.
Let's see. We're going to take 2 more questions, and we're going to get out of here. Let's see. Yasser Reachouk says, "How do I keep motivation through an injury? I've been struggling."
You know, that's really hard because, you know, you want to get out and be a part of what's going on. We have a young man that's part of our basketball program who had concussion from playing football, and it's been lingering on for like the last month and a half. And the protocol for it at this particular time is that even when he gets to the point where he's not having headaches anymore and they come and go, he's still got 6 weeks before he can actually participate without headaches. And that's real frustrating because you want to get out there and get involved. Only thing you got to do is just stay focused, be watching what the players are doing if you've got an injury, so that when you come in, you know what's going on. And this young man comes to practice every day.
Yeah, I would say that the best thing you can do is make the best of the time that you have with what you have.
Yeah.
So if you break your leg, that's a great time to really work on your ball handling as you're just sitting there doing whatever. If you break your strong hand or your right hand, and you can work on your left hand.
Yeah.
You know, you got to make the best of whatever you got going.
Yeah.
And you could be the person that sits there and mopes around and feels sorry for yourself, or you could be the person that kind of makes the best of the situation.
Yeah.
And you know, we've seen that every once in a while. Some guy will break his arm or something like that, and he'll come back and all of a sudden he's got a left hand now.
Yes.
So that's one thing to do. Okay, I'm going to answer one real quick one here, and let me see if I can find it. Captain Basketball was saying, how do I improve my basketball IQ? You got to play as much basketball as you can.
Watch basketball.
And try to see why and how things are happening.
You know, one of the things that I think is great is that if you can sit on the bench, if you're on the bench, sit right next to the coach. Because oftentimes he is talking to players, he's talking to assistant coaches, and you get the benefit of all this thing that he's talking about, and you begin to get more of an idea of what's going on in the game.
And here's a quick answer for Jada Taylor, who's saying, I need help with ball security. Any suggestions? Please help. Go check out our videos on our channel about dribbling 101 and a lot of the dribble attacks and stuff, and we talk about all that stuff. Okay, last question that we're going to get to Oh, Mr. Brooklyn 185 is saying, "What is the best drill to develop your weak ball handling hand?" Go check
All
out
of them.
go check out our video on how to develop your weak hand.
Yeah.
We have a ton of stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Jai Red is saying, "How to shoot when a defender is guarding me."
Well, listen, go to our video and take a look at what is a good shot. That probably will answer that question for you big time.
Yeah.
What is a good shot?
The answer is if you have a guy guarding you and you're trying to shoot with them right in your face, it's probably not a good shot.
It's not a shot. No.
Learn to create space. That is really the key. Okay, that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Hopefully, we'll see you next time, 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday. Make sure you follow us on everything Shot Science on Twitter, Facebook, Google+. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Snapchat. Follow us on Instagram. We are Shot Science on all of those things, and we post tons of different stuff on everywhere. So make sure you're there and come talk to us on that stuff. And if we didn't answer your question today, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we ran out of time. All right. Are we done?
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good holiday weekend, you guys. See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.